Listen, if you're a leader and you don't have this skill, then you are on a one-way track to misery, burnout, low productivity from your team, and all kinds of disastrous stuff for your business. I'm here today with leadership expert John Bowman, and he is about to save you from a lot of pain in your business. So let's dive in. Welcome to Success Sundays with Harrison. I'm your host, Harrison Wilder. I'm a corporate strategist and entrepreneur with an executive MBA from the George Washington University. I've managed 2 multi-million-dollar companies, and I advise top-level executives from a variety of industries. In this show, you'll find practical insights that will help you succeed as a leader in today's business environment. If you're serious about developing your skills as an executive, this is the place for you. Enjoy today's episode. Hi, I'm Harrison Wilder. Welcome to Success Sundays with Harrison. Today I've got my friend and leadership expert John Bowman with us. Say hi to everybody, John.
Hey, everyone.
It's so great to have you
on,
and
here.
welcome back. Welcome back to the program.
You.
So glad that you get to come and join us again. So look, you have been training leaders for decades now, both inside of your current capacity at one of the largest churches in America. But before that, you were training executives in leadership. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in leadership training?
Yeah, originally, my mom was a Chamber of Commerce president. So when I got out of college, I got a psychology degree, which you really can't do anything with that. I went into Chamber of Commerce and economic development work. So eventually I was even working for a city, helping to attract companies to come to this city, and we'd give tax abatements and different incentives for that to happen. And more, I was seeing that the biggest impact or the most impactful thing for attracting a company to a new city was the workforce development. And a college asked me to head up and be the director of leadership and workforce development. So I went to do that because it was so important to have a strong workforce. And I started meeting with companies to see where their gaps were, what they needed people to be trained in. And so we started doing everything from welding, nursing, all these different things, but also leadership skills. So we got into that, and I got trained in all these different leadership programs and all those kind of things. Yeah. But I wasn't saved at that time. So it's kind of neat looking back the way God started orchestrating things, because when I got saved, all of a sudden I got contacted by a headhunter that I was happy where I was. I kept saying, no, Harrison. I was like, I'm good. I had 3-day weekends working for a college and all these kind of things. And she was like, no, this job's for you. And she pursued me like crazy. So I went ahead and interviewed, and they had such a good process for selecting people. By the end, I was like, they better hire me,
Wow.
So I had just gotten saved. I moved to this new company called Development Dimensions International, DDI, one of the greatest and most impactful talent management company. It's global. So all of a sudden I went from this community college to now working with major corporations, companies around the world. Yeah. And a lot of that virtual, before we had the pandemic and all this, you're talking about early days of doing things virtually. I was working virtual teams in Japan, in France, in Nashville, kind of all over, and helping these companies with their talent management, determining who they wanted to move up in the company, their high potential pools, and kind of assessing talent and all those kind of things. So it was so fun to learn that stuff and to help these major companies do that. But through that, I learned so much that is discipleship. I learned so much about bringing out the best in others, about what we call soft skills and things like that. Yeah. And one story real quick, there was a medical company that I was overseeing, and one of the largest in America, and they had a 29% turnover rate. Jeez. And they determined it was $1 billion problem for them. Wow. And so they came to us and wanted help to overcome this. And what was happening is they had great nurses. And if you think about, hard skills, these nurses were great nurses. They were great at their jobs. But when they got promoted to be a nurse manager, they were chasing off all the nurses.
Wow.
Why? Because they were really good technically, but on the leadership side, they didn't know what to do. And so they weren't empowering and encouraging. It was more directive leadership. Wow. And so we started bringing in and training the staff, the managers, the leadership in how to treat people nice. I call it the golden rule of leadership. Do unto others as you would do unto yourself. Unfortunately, it's not always intuitive. And so sometimes we need help in what's that look like? How do we bring out the best in others? How do we coach and develop and motivate people? Those kind of things. But as we did that, and as we put in better selection processes, getting the right people in the right position, those kind of things, the turnover rate went from 29% down to 19%. And the ROI on it, they determined that it was saving them hundreds of millions of dollars. Wow. So it can impact your bottom line for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting how these leadership problems can be the biggest mover of the bottom line. You think you need to buy a new piece of software or hardware or install some system, but the adjustments that you can make on leadership can have a huge impact to the bottom line. That's why it doesn't surprise me. And you're not the first person that I know of that's a leadership expert that has a background in psychology, because I think that the most effective leaders are students of people. Right, they really understand how people think. They understand what motivates people, and those kind of processes. So it's a huge part of leadership is really understanding people.
That's right.
And I think that we miss out on that sometimes. In our leadership development, we're so focused on these other things that we miss out on. These are people. I love how Stephen Covey said this in his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that you can manage tasks, but you can't really manage people. People, you've just got to understand, you've got to relate to, you've got to be available for them in the moment when they're needed. And so these the ability to lead is so it's just so important. It's important
and it's dynamic.
Yeah.
And like you were saying around psychology, I love watching people. I love seeing people are so different. People are so funny.
Yeah.
And so when you can work to, I don't think we'll ever understand people fully, but as you are an observer and you are encouraging people and want to know them and treat them individually as well as corporately, it's so fascinating. And it's so fun to be able to help them succeed because it'll help your business succeed.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into this.
Yeah.
What is the, in our last time that we were together on the program, we talked a lot about character. And so we understand that this is probably the most important thing that you can work on as a leader is just developing your own integrity and then letting that flow out so so that other people interact with you, and your character is positive, right? And uplifts the team. Character aside, when we come to developable skills of a leader, what would you say is the number one leadership development skill that executive leaders must have in order to go to the next level?
Yeah, and I would say anybody that wants to grow in their leadership, one of the biggest hurdles I've seen is the ability to empower and delegate. To me, it's a game changer. If you want to go from a leader to a leader of leaders, you can't do that and control people. You can control things to a certain level, but the more you're responsible for a large number of people, or, you have more responsibilities, if you want to be able to do more, you have to enable others to be able to do things and give them the room and empower them to succeed and do those things. And I liken it to, it's not abdication. You're intentional with it. So I always call it intentional delegation.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's what does somebody need to do to grow? And you align that with your business and you say, okay, I need to get this done. So you're not just saying, oh, I want this guy to do my job for me, you know?
Yeah.
But it's, okay, I have this need, and I've noticed that Harrison is really good at this. You know, you look back at when we were working on the relief efforts and we were sending out teams to work on and rebuild people's homes, you know, or muck them out and that kind of thing. This
was here in Houston during the Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah, right after Hurricane Harvey, you had moved to Houston. We had become friends, and you were launching teams out all over the city. But I recognized in you that you had this amazing organizational skill to be able to package this thing together in such a way to launch teams out successfully and have these team leaders go out and have everything they needed to be successful on those sites. Well, you and I would work throughout the week. What do we need? Where do we need people? What's the project? What equipment do they need? All this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And man, you flawlessly made that happen. And it was just amazing. So when you can see, okay, we have this need.
Right.
Here's this person that has this ability, or maybe they need to grow in that ability. So I'm going to ask them to do this, but I'm going to check on them. I'm going to tell them that if you need something, I'm here to support you. I'm going to check in once in a while, just seeing how it's going, not because I'm hovering, but because I actually want you to succeed. And I also, another term I use is barrier breaker. You know, a lot of times things are getting in the way of people that in some cases could easily be removed. And so with whatever influence I have, I'll talk to the team. And if something's getting in the way that I might be able to impact, my role is to help them be successful.
Wow.
So I don't want to always solve the problems for them. Sometimes it's good for them to struggle. But at the same time, you don't want them to fail. And unless it's brain surgery, it's usually not life or death. So you can have room, because sometimes failure could be the best teacher. And so you don't want to save them all the time. It's kind of like with my kids, you know, so many parents want to save their kids from everything. When really the struggle, they're made for struggle. They're built for struggle. And sometimes they'll learn more through the struggle. So with your teams, allowing them to kind of struggle. The key is, what's the end goal? Where are you trying to get them to? And guiding them along the way. They may do it totally differently, and you might do it better, but I found so many times they do it better than I do, or came up with ideas that I would have never thought of. How cool is that? And when you're not, when your ego is not tied to it, like, well, you know, I can't have them doing it better than me, you know. They might take my job or that kind of thing. What I found is, as you go up, as you encourage and help others go up, then you're going to go up. So kind of like the ship, the water's rising, you know, you're going to rise too. When you help others succeed, you're going to succeed. And I think it's so hard for a prideful leader or somebody that's a controlling or directive leader for them to grasp that. There's a level of you have to let go to grow. And so as you kind of are able to let go of the control, of the fear that they might do it better than me, or the fear that this may reflect or look bad on me, or that, you know, these fear factors. When you can let go of some of those and help them to succeed, then the whole organization's going to benefit. You're going to benefit, they're going to benefit. But one of the most satisfying things to me is to see someone else grow and become everything they were created to be.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Looking at delegation, intentional delegation, you called it. And so the components that make it, you know, some people talk about delegating versus dumping. right? And so dumping is not something that we want to do.
Right.
And your definition of intentional delegation, you're opening up opportunities for people. So you're actively looking for like, how can I give more opportunities for people to do more? And many times on our team, we're not thinking that way. And we're wondering why year after year, our business is stagnant, our team's not growing, we're not becoming more effective. Our impact is not increasing. Well, it's because we're sitting at the limits of your own personal potential.
Right.
And if you don't ever start to empower your team members, then you're going to be stuck at the same place. So some of you, you're wondering like, why am I like every year, I'm joining new programs, I'm investing in like different courses, we're getting into the latest software, we're doing all the things, but we're not moving anywhere. Well, it could be that like you're stuck at the limits of your own leadership potential. And if you get proactive about intentional delegation, then you're going to start to see, as he talked about, the waters rise. And what's cool about this is that you might get promoted in your business, right? Or if you're your own business leader, like your income's going to increase. You're going to be able to move into the areas where you're really strong and your strengths because you've let other people rise up and you've let other people take on tasks. So we've got creating opportunities for people. We've got being aware, secondly, you talked about, of their strengths and how, that's important to distinguish between delegating and dumping. Is we're not just like,
Right.
I hate doing this. So like you're looking for somebody to like dump it on. No, like who's on the team that could do, who's more qualified, who's got the right strength set to do that. So we're going to empower them. We're going to find opportunities that are actually related to their strengths so that they can win. And then you talked about like, removing barriers. So that's the third thing is that we get to do is to try to make it as easy as possible for them by like getting out of their way, by not like creating some of us as leaders, we create barriers for them. We're like trying to make it hard on them. Right. I don't know. But trying to make them do everything perfect and, all of these like unnecessary policies and things. So we're going to free them up to remove as many barriers as we can, but then give them the space to fail. Like say, hey, it's okay if you don't get it right the first time. You're going to grow from that. And you liken that to parenting, which I think is so true. Like really great parenting after a certain age. When they're real young, maybe you're like, a little more commanding, a little more like, hey, don't stick the fork in the electric socket. That's not a good idea. Like you might actually not let them do that. But as they get older, you start to kind of convert more to a coach. Right? Where you're just kind of like, hey, I'm here for you as a resource. Come talk to me when you need things, but you're going to solve the problems yourself and you're going to work through it, and them developing that skill is the same way in our business.
Amen. Our goal as parents should be for our kids to become successful adults. And so early on, we're there to protect them and guide them and teach them, we don't do that, don't touch the hot stove, and they touch it anyway. They learn from that experience. They've grown. Now having older kids, it's nice. I'm not sending them money. They're making their own money. They're doing these things. But I feel like it was my job, just like in leadership development, to get them to this point to where they could be successful on their own. And in the same way, that's a development plan. How do we develop our employees? How do we develop and bring out the best in others? How do we help people to succeed to where they don't rely on us? And that frees you up, Harrison, to go do more things. I've found even as they've gone on, graduated from college, have their own lives, now I have a different life. I have more time to do different things. And so as you free up your employees, as you empower them, delegate, they're being more successful. They come to you when they need help or support or these kind of things. Your company's going higher. You're freed up to do more things. And the whole business goes to another level.
I've been seeing that like right now in my own business. We're just taking the time to like really sort through the different team members, figure out what their strengths are, and just start releasing more and more responsibility in different areas with the idea that like, hey, instead of me being in charge of every area and then people helping me, like Like, no, you be in charge of this area,
Right.
and I'm going to help you. I'll be here like to advise you. I'll be here to assist you. If you ever have questions, I'm here for you. But that dynamic is like really changing our business, like
Yeah.
to be able to do that, to be able to empower people.
That's so good. And I've seen on the Freedom team, the pandemic changed everything. All of a sudden, we launched Freedom Online. And we need a production team, a media team. We're streaming now. We wanted the quality to be just like we have in person, and we weren't originally made for that. And all of a sudden, we had someone like Chris Durrett who's had a knack for that. And then I saw, as we're having a lot of problem solving around technology in the moment, he was really good in the moment at figuring that out. And now we have this media team, we have this production team, and all of a sudden our streaming online is really good for participants. We have people joining from Africa. We have graduates from India.
Wow.
All this. They're going through the program online. Well, we never imagined that. Out of the bad comes good. And one of the good things that came out of the bad of a pandemic, out of COVID, was the fact that we're reaching more people online.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, people can be more virtual. And even we've seen it in our businesses, we're doing more business online and things like that. All that birthed out of that.
Yeah.
And it also created more opportunities. So it's neat when we can identify, give people opportunities. If that hadn't happened, I hadn't put Chris in that need we had. And I'm not a huge technology guy. So having somebody that I can lean on, put in that role, he developed a team. And we've seen just amazing things come of that. So many people benefited from that opportunity.
Yeah.
So out of crisis, out of chaos, out of, all these things come new opportunities, and also new opportunities for you to look at and identify the right person to help your business grow in that area or that direction.
Yeah, one of the things I love about your leadership style, and I actually have become convinced that it is the only way to lead, is people-focused leadership. Like the people, being focused on the people on your team. I know when I first started out, especially in ministry, I was mission-focused in my leadership, which was okay and respectable to be like, hey, we've got a goal, we've got something we're trying to accomplish, and I would see all the people who are on my team as like people that were supposed to be used to accomplish that goal.
Yeah.
And that took me so far in my leadership, but quickly I realized that, man, this is not very effective. Like, my team members didn't like working with me. They, it was so weird. Like I kept thinking like, oh, if we keep the vision in front of them, we keep them, pumped up and motivated, they'll be fine. But at some point I started to realize that no, we're not people who are like the people on my team are not people who are being used to accomplish something. Rather, the thing that we have to accomplish together is something that we can use to build up our team members.
Right. Yeah, to me, the people building's the primary thing. And it doesn't matter what widget you're making, what you're doing, that kind of thing. If you focus on the people and helping them succeed, your business is going to succeed.
Yes.
But it is a change. So many people focus on making money, or we got to do this, or these kind of things, without putting people as a priority. Those people are more important than anything else you're doing.
Wow.
So when you can make that a focus about bringing out the best in them, about knowing their lives and caring about them and helping them grow, they're going to work harder for you. So it moves all the dials.
Yeah.
People are going to be more engaged. They're going to be more productive. All the business will come. It goes back to those lag indicators we talked about last time.
Yeah.
The lag indicators will come. The results will come. The bottom line, the being in the black will come as you focus on your people doing the right things, being empowered, encouraged, having the skills, you continue to develop them. They're going to want to work hard for you.
Yes,
I want to work hard for you, Harrison.
Well, I think it's I think it becomes like a really special thing, actually. I remember a few years back just reflecting as we were starting to grow our team. and thinking like, wow, this is such a privilege. Really, it's like you're bringing more family members in, people that you're going to get to help, that you're going to like help develop them, that you're going to help them move towards their goals, and it's really neat. Like that's the one way that we can actually grow our influence and impact is just by having more team members, and allowing God to stretch us to become a leader of people, and seeing ourselves really like building them up.
Yeah, that's become the culture of freedom, actually. I was kind of blown away. It was my hope that everybody loved freedom. And, I was working to build a team. But I've been blown away that we are Freedom Family. And we'll have people come in from all over the world. We just had a woman this weekend. She drove down from Canada. She's been an online freedom participant with us. And we meet them at the church. We celebrate with them. It's like they're part of our family. We already know them. They've had mentors online. They've had facilitators. They're part of our community. And they show up and we make a big deal out of it. We get them seats at the front for the service. They get to meet Pastor Joel, all these kind of things. And so I have really been amazed as we've put people first, as we built this team where everybody's empowered and there's so much unity, that we really are a family. And like you're saying, I've seen it with your team as well. People are bought in. They love you guys. They want to be part of your team. And that's the beauty of this. I feel like I'm living my best life now. It's like, I love being around these guys. I love seeing them succeed. God, who are you going to bring next? I'm ready to raise up some more leaders. It's never ending. It's so good. But I have, the fun thing looking back is I have story after story after story of seeing people go to another level and going off to do other things. So I really hold people loosely. We're good stewards of people, but I don't own them.
Yes.
And so I really saw early on, as in the men's ministry, things like that, as we were developing people, I wanted to be a feeder pool to the ministry, to the church. And so many went on to became ushers. As their character improved, they became discipled. They'd go off, and I saw that as a win. It was really good. But like Carson Smith, he was one of our interns. I challenged him to revamp our worship for Friday nights. And it was really challenging because, there was a whole set team of people that had been there a long time. It didn't really look or sound like Lakewood. And so I challenged him to try to keep the people that are there, take it to another level, build a team. And he told me that everything that he learned during that year, everything he was challenged to do, and I didn't save him from everything. He had to work through that and everything else. And I'm not a worship leader, so I relied on him for a lot of that side of things. Well, he ended up becoming the director of the Woodlands Church worship team. And he said, later he told me, John, everything I learned that made it possible for me to get this job and to succeed in this job, I learned during that stretch assignment, that stretch year that you gave me.
Wow.
And so equipping and getting people prepared for their next thing, whether it's at your company or somewhere else. So many people are like, well, if I train them, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't train them, you got to keep them. It's like, I'd rather train somebody, let them succeed, and they'll do great things for you while you have them, but you don't own them. And if God takes them somewhere else, so be it. But you did your part. You were a good steward of these people and helping them to be everything they were created to be. And so just, that's exciting to me. When I see you flourish, man, it does my heart good.
Yeah. Well, John, last time you were here, you were talking to us about Freedom Ministry and what you're doing there and how you're expanding out to other churches and things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop some links down in the description of today's episode. So if you all want to learn more about this, maybe how you could even apply these freedom principles to your own work or to start a freedom ministry in your own church or organization, you can reach out to John and I would be happy to help you with that. And you can check out what they're doing on Friday nights online. It's amazing. Before we end the episode, though, we love to issue the success challenge of the week, which is a practical thing that you can do, you can apply right now based on what we've learned. So I'm going to invite John to, what's the success challenge for this week?
Yeah, so our last challenge was to get to know your people, to get to know yourself. And as you've done that, and if you haven't done that yet, you can still do that. But as you get to know your people, you can start to identify, where can I empower them? What can I delegate to them? So as we think about intentional delegation, what's one thing or one project that I can give somebody to help them grow? And it's something that your business needs, but it's also going to help that person develop. And take the risk, take the chance of stepping out and empowering somebody this week, and guide them through it. And I bet you have an incredible testimony about, even if it's challenging. I had one leader that I told him, if you're going to take this ministry to another level, you're going to have to delegate. And so it was hard at first to give up control. But here's what I tell you. Give up control, lose control, and let somebody do something they haven't done before. And that doesn't mean abdicate. You pay attention to what's going on. But as you delegate, as you empower them, as you help them to succeed, I bet it's going to impact your business. They'll successfully do that project. So that's the challenge, Harrison, is, find one thing you could delegate to somebody else.
Amazing.
Be intentional about it.
I love it. Well, thank you, John. And listen, if there's anything that I can help you with or that John can help you with, any questions you have, please post them down in the comments. Let us know what they are. Our team sifts through those and they just tee them up to us because we love to create content that's super relevant and helpful for you. How many of you would like to have John back on the program again? That would be awesome. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Great businesses and great leaders are built using effective communication. For more, go to speakingschool.com, grab my Elite Business Success Toolkit for free just for trying out our Speaking School membership. That's speakingschool.com. See you next time.